then they're gone. And,
like this is the only life that you get to live.
And it's the only life they get to live. So like encourage them to do their thing. You don't have to. So like to then focus on this relationship as if it's under covenant. Like you don't have to live together. So like why are you beating yourselves up, especially for something that can be ended as quickly as like it's not me, it's you.
Yeah.
This is the Nat and Rose Show.
The Nat and Rose Show.
What up?
Hey.
How's it going?
I'm doing good.
You're doing good?
Mm-hmm. Other than...
Are you sure?
Yeah, but I almost fell off the stool when I got on it. But yeah.
That would have been embarrassing.
Welcome to our new studio,
What's
too.
Up? Look at this.
You just mess with the lights.
We're aesthetic AF.
Yeah. Well, what's been going on this week, Nat?
Dealing with a little cold.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. It's just a nasal thing. Anything interesting that you wouldn't know of, being that we're around each other 24/7?
We are around each other literally 24/7, but yeah.
Yeah, no, there's nothing.
I got nothing either. We were sick today. We laid around and watched Alexander Hamilton, or it's just called Hamilton, but that's a good movie.
We also watched another movie. Oh, Brave. Yeah, we've been lazy
Brave.
Today. Well,
just kind of hanging out.
Glad you're doing good. Glad you're all right. So what are we doing today? What you bringing us?
We're going to talk about loving each other through freedom. I feel like this is one of our favorite topics to discuss with people. Like when we're in groups, we tend to like, it's either brought up or I feel like we bring it up. Of like,
most things, honestly, we bring up.
That's true. That's true.
That might not be completely accurate, but I feel like it. I feel like everyone will have like a light conversation, and then it'll be something that's like, all right, what are we doing now?
Yeah. Well,
it's always fun.
But it is one of our favorite topics, and it is loving each other through freedom.
Yeah.
And did I already say that?
You did.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all right. What does loving each other through freedom mean?
I think it's just like, I guess maybe like a short definition would be like not even allowing. See, I don't even want to use the word allowing.
I can't even use allow. But that defeats the purpose.
That defeats the purpose. But expressing love.
Nice.
Through acknowledging a freedom and individuality with your spouse that exists regardless of if you do or not.
Yeah.
And I think, and we titled this episode Love Like Luca.
Yeah.
Because, you want to tell them?
I will tell them.
Yeah.
Because the movie Luca by Disney, it features two boys who meet each other, have a lot of good fun together. They both have a dream to go traveling around the world on a Vespa, which is cool. And then Luca kind of finds another path in his life open up to him, and he starts getting more intrigued by school and all this other stuff. And his friend Alberto is like, nah, fam, I don't want to do that. And so they're working hard for the Vespa to get money. There's a lot that goes down, but essentially they get the money. Alberto has his friend back, has his dream back and everything. And instead of kind of just holding on to that, he decides to sell the Vespa and gives the money to Luca so Luca can follow his own dream to go to school with their new friend. And the scene that kind of, because we've had this conversation before prior to Luca, but we felt like Luca was a pretty cool picture of it, because the scene is Luca finds out that he is going to go to school. He's going to get to go have fun with his other friend. I forget her name. Julieta.
Yeah, Julieta.
And so he finds this out, and Alberto, it's sad, whatever, it's rainy, it's gloomy, it's dramatic and everything. And so Luca's on the train, he's going off to his dream, but he's looking back at his friend who kind of introduced him to this world and helped him get into this place of being, brave and everything. And then Alberto, instead of crying or anything like that, he's cheering Luca on. Which is why we're like, dang, that's kind of perfect for what we're talking about, because it's not just a matter of letting somebody do it. I think you get rid of that term that you were saying earlier when you involve the cheering someone on to do it. Because now it's no longer like, I'm letting you do something. It's, I am excited and cheering you on to do something.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that this is kind of like a two-part deal, right? Is that being married, or even, we're going to hit on like the married life and we're going to hit on the dating life. But this can be applied to so many different relationships, but that you're not allowing somebody to do something in any relationship that you're in. It's that they can do it regardless of you.
Right.
And so where the blessing comes in is that them knowing that you're always going to be in their corner, kind of regardless of what they need to do to pursue their dreams, even if their dreams might be like not directly involve you.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I just think it's like a really cool thing that we've talked about a lot. And we have found some really good, I think like it's really helped us improve our relationship since workshopping it through the 8 years of being married.
So do you have a story?
Yeah. I think like a really good example of how I was not loving well through freedom is in like when we were first married, probably our first year into being married. I remember that there was a time you called me, you had gotten off of work, and I think I expected you to be on your way home from work.
Yeah.
And you had called me and said, hey, my friend just called and I'm going to go grab a beer with him really quick. And so I think I said like, okay, and hung up, but felt like really weird about it. And I was like, what was that? Like, he just told me I am going to go grab a beer. Like, there was no consideration about what I was doing, like what was happening at the house, like nothing. And he just said, I am going to do this.
So in that scenario, from what you remember, was that the problem? Or was it that I was going to go do something without you that was the problem? What was the problem in that moment?
I mean,
like, what?
I think both were a little bit the problem, but I think that I think that a lot of it comes down to like probably jealousy of like, because I had a new baby there and obviously it's your baby too, but
we had a new baby. Some might say I did some work in that.
I would disagree, but no, but like I was home with the baby all day and I always looked forward to seeing you when you would get off of work. So I was just like, what? That's like, first of all, the fact that he's even able to do that, like just call me and say, I'm going to go grab a beer with somebody, you know? But then, so I think those feelings of jealousy and just like spite and all of that. And then also it was like, it was so aggressive. It was like the wording for me, you know, of like, I'm going to go do this.
So it was more so the wording then? So like if I had called and I'd been like, hey, Ro, is it okay if I go grab a beer with a friend? Yeah. Like, would you have been like, okay, that's cool? Yeah. And that would have hit you different, or? I think I still would have been like annoyed by it. And I think that's what we've nailed down, because it ultimately, like, you had asked me kind of after we had that argument when you got home later and like discussing it the next few weeks and over the next several years of like, you asked, okay, let's just say I'm going to ask you, right? I'm going to ask you to do things like, Ro, can I go out and get a beer? Right. Like, are you going to say no? And then I said, well, no, I'm never going to say no. Like, that's ridiculous. I'm not your mom. Right. You know, I'm not going to tell you no. At that point, for me, it was just like, well, then, like, why would I ask? Like, I feel like I'm wasting time in the asking thing. And you know, maybe it's milliseconds. Maybe it's not even that much time. But, like...
Well, it feels like a false nicety, kind of, you know?
Exactly. And as, like, a married couple, I think we should get rid of the fake niceties, you know? And it should be more so just, like, a direct, like, I'm going to do this. And if there's a reason why that shouldn't happen. Yeah. Like, being that I'm your husband and we're in a loving relationship, like, just tell me why that shouldn't happen if there's a reason.
So what about you, though? Did you have a story that is, like, maybe the opposite or maybe the same or along?
Yeah, I definitely remember that one, because that was a problem for...
And I swear it unfolded over, like, several years. Like, we had to ask people. We had to, like, it was a whole thing.
Definitely workshopped it with a lot of our friends and stuff. For me, it's kind of on the same... Obviously, it's the same thing, but it's, like, a different side of it, I guess. Because, like, I personally was always pretty good, I think, with like... Yeah. Not holding you back from whatever you wanted to do. Like, if you wanted to do something, it'd be like, okay, fine. Obviously, like, I think there's the natural, like, I'm gonna miss you, dude. But, like, other than that, it's like, whatever, you know? Like, go have fun. Yeah. And mainly just because, like, it just made sense to me. But mainly because, I wanted the same in return, kind of like, I'm not gonna hold you accountable to something that I'm not willing to do either. But it was, I kind of just thought like, well, that's kind of marriage is like, you're still you. So like, go have fun. But where I failed at it, which probably first years of marriage, I didn't think I could, but where I've definitely realized that I've like failed at it and haven't done well is being more so the one cheering you on in your freedom.
Yeah.
Like I was still doing it and like allowing it, but I wasn't like cheering you on in it and making you feel like you were actually in the freedom and being able to enjoy yourself. Cause like you'd be on a trip or whatever. And when I'm on a trip, when I'm doing something, typically I'm just like, the rest of the world doesn't exist. Dude. Like that's the whole reason I left everything is to kind of like get away from it, or not to get away from it, but I am.
Yeah.
And me thinking about it constantly doesn't matter.
Right.
Like it doesn't do any good for anybody. So like when I'm gone, I just kind of, there's nothing. It's just what's in front of me for the most part. And then when you're gone, same thing. Like I'm only focusing on what's in front of me. So that's taking care of the kids, cleaning the house, doing all that stuff, taking care of the house. But then it would make you feel bad.
Yeah.
That like I wasn't checking in on you, seeing how you're doing, like excited
well, and even
to
on
talk to you.
like it's just like, and he would be like, I'm the one, or you're the one away.
Right.
You're the one away on a trip, and I'm trying to love you by like not texting you, not trying to call you, not this. And it was maybe a lot of like mom guilt, maybe that kicks in of just like, but it makes me feel better if you're like texting me or like calling me, not like obsessively, but just once a day to be like, hey, how's your day going? Like, what did you do today? That's super fun, you know? Because then I would call you and be like, hey, so yeah, we're just getting home from this and this. And he'd be like, or you'd be like, that's cool. You know, like, cool. All right. Well, bye. And then I feel like you're like mad at me, you know? So I'm like, oh, he's all upset that I took this trip, even though he told me to go. And
which was the problem is that like, and what we've come to, I think even just recently, this was like last year, we were still going through that part of it for me of like, even though I'm doing part of it right, there's still that aspect of you're not enjoying it. So like at that point, if I'm not able to cheer you on and you get to enjoy the freedom that you deserve anyways, then like I'm missing it, right? Because like you're out there, you're doing your thing, but if you're just constantly concerned about is he mad at me? Is he going to be a certain way when I call him? Or like, can I enjoy this and enjoy it with him also? Then it would defeat the purpose if you can't do that. So
so this is just examples of how like we've developed this, and like we've said again, workshopped it over the past 8 years of being married, and consulted with other people, and just really have, we think, nailed it down, although we're not perfect, but have for sure kind of gotten into this rhythm with each other of like, okay, you want to go do this? For sure, you go do that. And like, you want to go do this? Okay, you got this. Like, go ahead.
Like the major stuff, I think we got down of the like, it happens, and then we're just kind of working on the nuances of it to where it is actually a productive thing and not just something that harbors like resentment or anything like that.
So what about like, we'll kind of touch more so on the married side of it, because I think that's where this mostly applies, but let's talk about like people who are in dating relationships. Like they are not married, there's no covenant that exists. What does that look like? You know?
Nothing else to talk
about.
That's
it. Nothing else. Wrap it up. Let's go.
Dating, it doesn't. It applies. Like I think it applies because nothing else would apply. Like you're dating, you know. Like this might be a little touchy, but like you don't have to live together dating. I understand people do, and to each their own in that sense. But like. You don't have to. So like to then focus on this relationship as if it's under covenant where like you kind of do have to, other than the extremes where, you know, military and different businesses like that. Like you don't have to live together. So like why are you beating yourselves up, especially for something that can be ended as quickly as like it's not me, it's you.
Yeah, and I think
not you, it's me. I think it's how.
And I think the world has gotten into like this really big habit of like treating dating like they're married, you know, and it's ultimately like you are not married until you're married. I mean, that's just kind of the facts of it, and that doesn't, you know, make your love for each other any less valid or anything like that. But it's just you are not married until you are married, like until you've made the vows in front of God, and you know. You've done that, then you are not into the covenant relationship.
That's the point of dating, is to like focus on yourself and bring all of who you are, 100% you to 100% them. And if you're not able to do that because you're having to like constantly sacrifice a part of you in order to make it work, maybe it works. Maybe there's like a higher blessing to it or something. But like for the most part, you should be bringing 100% of you to 100% of them and make that full person at that point who's not 50 of 50, but 100 and 100.
Right.
You know.
And I remember when we first started dating, it was like I was pretty unaware of this concept, you know? And
I was unaware of it too, but I just wanted to be a peacock.
I think,
let me fly.
I think you just kind of practiced it naturally without even knowing what it was. You know, you were just like, definitely it's me, and I'm just going to do it. But I was unaware, you know, I had just always like seen relationships of like, you know, when you're dating, you're basically like all about each other and you're just like all in and you go kind of like really hard, really fast. And like you really do just dive right in and all of that stuff. And so when we had started dating and I kind of expected it to be like, okay, wake up, text, all day text. What are your plans for the day? What's going on? Like, even if our plans don't involve each other for the day, I was like, what are you doing? Like, even if I knew we weren't going to see each other for that day or a couple days, like, I wanted to know and be informed of what you were doing. And I was like,
your face is like, why would I ever think that?
Why would I ever think that? I was
in the moment thinking of like, why?
Why
like,
is
if we're
she
not
like
going to see each other, why do I have to inform you?
Yeah.
And I think like even with that being like a part of us in our dating is like we obviously are still married as of today.
You haven't told me any different yet.
I haven't told you any different. That's right. But like this, I wouldn't say is like a red flag in dating necessarily, but just something for sure to like
keep in mind.
Focus on yourself and work on yourself. Like you can't control what somebody else is going to do, obviously. But like in dating, I just don't think it makes sense logistically, if you will. Like it just like for me to have to text you and say, hey, I know I'm not going to see you at all today, and here's all my list of plans of why I'm not going to see you today. Cool. Like catch you in a couple days. Like,
bye. I don't know. It's weird. And like now looking back on it, I mean, of course we started dating at 18, so you know we both had a lot of maturing to do and figuring out, you know, how that was going to work for both of us. And but I just like look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, why did I ever think that was appropriate to do, you know? And likewise, you wouldn't care what I was doing, really, you know, unless it came down to like scheduling something, like let's go out and do something. Like, what are you doing? Exactly. What are you up to? And so I guess all of this is to be said, like, how does this apply to dating? It kind of should 100% apply to dating and then like not at all apply to dating.
True. It's like you should be only in freedom when you're dating, apart from like the agreements that you've made to like pursue just each other or like that stuff.
Right,
you know?
of course.
But like dating is the time in your life when you're searching for who you're going to commit this kind of relationship to of I am cheering you on in your individuality, you know, and sacrificing myself for that and all that stuff. Like that's what dating is for, is to bring all of you to that and just actually have fun in it. So like you said, it kind of completely applies, but it also kind of doesn't apply in the sense of...
You should be loving yourself through freedom in dating.
Yeah.
Like your partner shouldn't have the opportunity to love you through freedom because you should just be loving yourself through freedom. And that's all that matters.
They're either coming along with you on that ride to like build the future together or that doesn't work for them.
And again, like we said, that doesn't mean like go out and cheat on your partner that you're dating and, you know, just like mess around, like be a good person.
Right.
We're just saying like you don't have to be like, I guess, accountable to this person on the day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. That's not what dating should look like.
Exactly.
But if we take that into marriage, or I guess, what does it look like? Like, how does that transform from dating to marriage? And then how is it different? And where are the boundaries? Like, all of that.
Yeah, I think, and you could probably attest to this, like, how I did it in dating wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Which is why then, like, moving into marriage, it was definitely lacking. Also, because of how our marriage got started, it wasn't really like now we're engaged. And
it was so quick with being pregnant
like,
and
we're dating, we love each other, we're talking marriage as if like it's something we will do. And then all of a sudden
I was waiting, he was scared, guys. He was trying to be a rock star.
I was scared. I was trying to get my rock on, dude. But like we moved quickly, it was from talking about marriage in dating. For honestly, most of our dating, we were talking about
marriage. I think we were, yeah.
And then it was like, oh, we have a baby. Oh, engaged. Oh, married. Our baby came. Like, okay, whoa. So, like...
There was no time to figure out, like, how are we going to treat this marriage thing?
Right.
Like, what are our expectations?
Yeah.
What are... I mean, other than our dating life, which was just kind of more so this, like, free-spirited, kind of easygoing relationship. So we never, like, had time to sit down and be like, what does our marriage look like, you know? So you're right that, like, in figuring it out, it didn't come, I guess, like... It was just something that we were, like, thrown into, and then we had to figure it out.
Which is maybe why it, like, hit so hard. It was a little more shocking to you.
Yeah.
Because you might have thought that, like, well, once we're married, it's all going to be different, and he will be asking if he can go do stuff, and, like, all that stuff, you know? And I think, like, that's, to bring it into marriage, that's where I would say maybe the first step is getting rid of the,
I just had it, yeah. Dang it. Semantics.
Nice.
So getting rid of the semantics
Getting rid of the semantics or maybe bringing in the semantics of it. I'm not sure which one. You maybe tell me after I actually finish my thought. But like apply that first into marriage of just the like, I am not going to ask for permission to do something. Not out of like, you're not above me and therefore I will not ask, but out of just like, let's just be real about what we're going to do here. And I will let you know of what I'm planning. And if it doesn't work because maybe I forgot something that we already have planned, or maybe like you were planning on the side something else, like then we'll obviously have to talk about which one would take precedent, or if we can make both work, which especially without kids, like that kind of happens. You know, like you can definitely make things work. Both of the couple gets to make things work, but when you have kids it's a little different.
And I think like you said, like I was definitely the one going into marriage who was like, good, like all these problems that I have with him of like
all these problems
these problems that I have with him of having like he's just saying he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that, and kind of this like what I felt was lack of consideration for me would be gone, because now we're married and he's required to do this. And if you're getting married, like you're close to getting married and you think that like all of a sudden your spouse is going to come under your control. Take a step back and think about that. Because
do you think that's what it comes down to then, is mostly control?
I absolutely think so. As a person who, like I like to call it, this might be harsh, but I like to call it like the bird and the cage. So like as a person who was more cage, right? And you were more bird. I
wanted to fly.
Yeah.
I wanted to be free like a peacock.
So I was definitely more cage going into marriage of like, this is my way of like, not like that's the only reason I got married, but like I just figured once you're in marriage, like this little birdie is gonna fly into the cage and stay right there, you know?
And the security and it's like safety.
Like I know where my bird is at all times. And so I think if you're getting married and you're going into that, just analyze that. And for the people who, you know, are like the ones who are kind of like the cage, I would challenge you to think about what you challenged me for, which was, what does it come down to? What is the bottom line? Like, what does this relate back to? And I could not give you a reason outside of something that was controlling. Like, I think you need to know where each other is, just like for safety and logistic purposes of like, hey, call me, give me a heads up, let me know what you're doing.
There's all the crime shows that you listen to that would prevent some of that, maybe.
I am addicted to crime shows and crime podcasts. But I also think, you know, keep your location on. Like that kind of stuff is just, I think that's logistical, and I think that is consideration for the other person. What I don't think is consideration, or I don't think consideration needs to look like I am going to ask you what I'm doing. Now I don't think that. Early into marriage, I definitely thought that.
On the same side of like the cage person, in not only expecting them to ask, but also do you think there's an element to it of constantly asking too? Not maybe the constantness of it, but like if as the cage, like do you think you should also focus on not asking that much of what plans are, like feeling like you have to wake up and be like, what are you doing today?
Oh,
What are you doing tomorrow? Tell me, let me know what you're going to do on Friday and like, the rest of the week. Like being on that side of it too could be that same kind of mentality, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if you're like, okay, fine, I'm not gonna make them ask what I'm doing, but I'm gonna make sure I know their plans at every turn for the next month, and like that is controlling. Anything that is coming out of the spirit of being controlling, that's what you don't want. You want to work on that and cutting it out. And it definitely is something, like, I know it'll be shocking for anybody listening to this who like knows me, but
They're like, what?
I am a very controlling person by nature. Like, I don't know. I know.
That is news.
I could hear everybody's breath be taken away in one
simultaneous gasp across the country.
But I think I would just challenge them, like, does it come from a controlling stance? And in the conversations that I've had with people who do tend to be like me, more of the like cage person, I have yet to hear a reason that does not come out of control.
Do you think trust is different, and does that, like, would that be a reason against control, that like I'm just not a trusting person, or do you think that still kind of falls into control?
I think it ultimately still falls into control. I think if you're mistrusting, you're also probably controlling. Because you don't want to be hurt or have your trust broken. So you think by like grasping at straws and trying to like control the situation that won't happen. Or if they do break your trust, you're like, I'm gonna know about it. I'm gonna know about it like right off the bat, you know? And so you're trying to kind of constantly like monitor that situation and see what's going on. So even
if somebody's like, well, I just, I kind of have a hard time trusting people, you think that would still bring the situations like this back into like, well, the bottom line is that you're controlling this, trying to control a situation.
I mean, I guess it's circumstantial, but but I think overall, my like advice to people who are mistrusting is that maybe it doesn't completely come out of control. Like they're like, no, I'm not trying to be a controlling person, but I'm just saying that like I kind of have trouble. Just that like those people who are just mistrusting, that no amount of checking on your partner and trying to check in on them and see what they're doing at all times is going to make them faithful to you.
Right.
Like it a partner
really build the trust.
No, you're never going to get trust out of that.
If anything, could possibly weaken it because it's not real trust and it's just complicated.
Yeah. So, but like on the bird side of it, like, what are your thoughts, like, in marriage? Especially because, like, we don't want people to listen to this, especially you being birds, like all the birds out there, to like, go away and be like, oh, okay, like, now you just have to trust me. You need to stop controlling me.
Yeah. And,
so what are the boundaries as far as that goes in marriage?
I think, staying in marriage for sure. We already mentioned the dating that, like, doesn't really apply, but like for sure within marriage, on like the wanting to be free side and building and helping your partner also not feel like they're going crazy, I guess would be like the main goal. And building, if it's trust, and just helping them realize that they don't need to have control, because I don't think you can ever convince somebody to not want control, but like maybe you can show that it's not needed and possibly even doesn't help. I think just like understanding the maybe the basics of it, like don't just go to a place and be like, oh yeah, no, like I'm at the bar, because your spouse could be waiting for you at home, or maybe they had planned like a dinner or something. So like I think there's a courtesy in saying, at least informing them of your plans, of like, this is what I'm gonna do, just got off the phone with whoever, I'm gonna go, we're gonna go get our nails done or whatever, if it's the girl.
Guys can't get their nails done.
Well, if you're a guy too, dude. I see you, Machine Gun Kelly, dude. No, but like, like just informing them so that way there isn't those problems there where they had planned a dinner, or they had maybe planned to take you out for dinner, and now you're going out with someone else, and they already moved things aside or around, like all that stuff. So as like much as you can, don't just be, because I think that's where a lot of it came from for me, was Like I had no plans, and I was just, I was doing whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And, like, flying by the seat of my pants.
Yeah, your lack of planning really, to this day, kind of drives me nuts. But I've learned to kind of go with it lately. I feel like it's just like with everything. You're just not a planner, and I'm more of a planner on the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah. I plan a lot. It never goes how I plan it. And I just honestly have had to learn to, like, just do with whatever comes and whatever I'm able to do.
Yeah, but I think
like,
that's
staying
good.
on top of that.
Yeah.
You know, like trying to at least have some plans and not just doing like a, if it comes to my mind, I'm going to do it.
Right.
Thing. Have something that you have set forward and try to stick to it, obviously, and let them know. But then also, like, not getting upset if you notice that they have some reaction to the thing, even if there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to go do this thing. And you can tell that they're upset. Like, don't have a reaction to it and be like, well, you're supposed to love me and this isn't love, dude. Like, calm down. Like, we're all working on this, obviously, and just kind of have understanding first in that, and you know, also don't change it, you know.
Yeah,
and
I was gonna say, like,
go do their own thing.
Right, and I was gonna say, because we've seen different people in relationships who have been like the bird. We'll just keep going with this because now you can't. Who have been the one who, I guess, naturally wants the freedom, or maybe doesn't even like want the freedom, but just understands that they have freedom.
Right.
It's not, again, the freedom is not something that's granted to you by your spouse. It's something that can be acknowledged by your spouse, can be and should be acknowledged by your spouse. And if it's not acknowledged by your spouse, like, that's something that you have to have serious discussions about, you know. But again, we've seen the birds, so to speak, in relationships who kind of get in relationships, and their partner, it always goes that one is going to be more like of the controlling one, and one is going to be more of the freedom one. That just always happens. So we see the one who wants the freedom more. Sometimes they tend to fall into this, like, how would you say it? Like, they come under that. They fall
into the control.
Yeah. Like, I think you did a good job by not falling into the control, because it was good for me to develop over time and understand that, like, it was okay. Like, this is good for both of us. But I have seen it where they kind of fall under that control, and they're like, well, it's just, you know, like, we're in a relationship, we're in a marriage now, and so I'm trying to respect the marriage, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, and it's
which,
like,
I think, like, the time is a part of that, and, like, the time you spend together is albeit maybe a large piece, like, that's still only a piece of the respect and, like, the existence of the marriage. It's not the whole existence of it, because, like I mentioned earlier, like everyone knows, like, military families do very well, have very successful marriages, and they don't get to spend time together. And, like, it obviously it wouldn't apply and wouldn't work for the spouse at home to be messaging them saying, like, what are you doing today? Why aren't you getting back to me? Like, let me know what's going on. Like, that just wouldn't work, obviously. So, like, it's not the time committed, and, like, the time given to each other is not the only piece that creates success in a relationship. So, like, having that and building into that and keeping yourself a part of your life and not losing it just to serve your spouse, I think that kind of turns them into either just like a tyrant, or, like, you maybe put them on, like, a god status almost, because you're like, well, I'm gonna do whatever they say. And there's a respect level, obviously, and I feel like the respect level for the most part is pretty obvious.
I think it's like a courtesy level. Like, I'm going to be courteous to what you have going on, and you're going to be courteous to what I have going on. But it doesn't mean that I respect you any less just because I make my own decisions about what I do day to day. You know, if I'm going to call you and say, I'm going to go have drinks with the girls, you know, like, I'm going to go have drinks with the girls, and that because we've just spent the past 6 nights together, and I would like to spend this night doing something else,
and I think it goes the other way, too, you know, like, if you've spent the last 6 nights out with the girls, or out doing whatever you want, like, the time, like I said, is also a piece of it. So, like, it does need to be prioritized, and you do need to put an effort into that, otherwise it will start to show, and it could also start to slip.
For sure,
But, like, I think definitely focusing on not losing yourself. as the bird, like keep your wings workable and like continue to use them, because if we're going to use that same analogy of like a cage, domesticated birds tend to lose their ability to fly dependent on how tight the cage is or whatever. So like the bigger the bird, the bigger the cage, that way they can actually stretch their wings and continue to use the strength of that. And if that's taken away, then like at a certain point you won't be able to do your freedom, because you will be kind of like, well, what am I leaving at home? Are they sad? Are they missing me? Did I ruin something? Are they mad at me? Like, you kind of have to force yourself into this of not losing it. And if you have lost it, force yourself back into it. Find some kind of hobby. Like, I think we should have something. It doesn't necessarily have to be out of the house, but we should have something that kind of is for
our
us.
own. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, as far as if you're the other person who was like me, like tend to want the more control, we kind of tend to want our spouses to like do our hobbies with us, you know, of like, well, no, you should just come with me and you should love and enjoy everything that I love and enjoy, and that would be awesome. Again, because it's kind of like, well, I want to go do this thing, but I don't necessarily want you to be alone, and like, so come do this thing with me, and so I think a part of being the person who likes to control more, the cage person, I think you really need to practice doing the hobbies by yourself. Like, I think it's a part of not only loving yourself through freedom, but loving your spouse through freedom, because you are going to go do something that you love. And I know it's kind of hard, but also you're going to be leaving your spouse alone for the day. And I promise you, if you're married to a bird, they want that day alone. They want it. And they are so happy that you are doing something by yourself, because they start to feel smothered if you feel like you have to do absolutely everything together.
There was a lot of times earlier on in our marriage when it was more functional, that you would take trips and you would be gone for like a weekend. And I remember, like, for sure, like the first one, it was kind of, you were like all sad and you're like concerned about what I was going to do and like all this stuff, and trying to figure out how I could come. And like the whole time I was like, I don't want to. I want to stay here. Like, I am so looking forward to just being alone, doing whatever I want, waking up, watching a movie that you would laugh at me for watching because it's animated or something, or like just watching like a gory movie, like getting that whole guy thing on. And so I would look forward to those moments, being able to play video games all day and all that stuff. And like, I think that's one thing cool about being on the more controlling side, or like the structured side. You kind of get two blessings in one on your side.
Yeah, that's
true. You choose
true.
to go out and do something for yourself to kind of force the separation. You also are giving them time to themselves, unless of course kids are involved, which obviously they're not getting their time alone if there's kids around. But like, if their kids are able to go somewhere with you or something like that, like, you are able to give that freedom and that time to them, to the one who is more freedom based. Like, you get to do both. But I think as the bird, you're kind of, when you go out to do something on your own, you're more so challenging the one who's more structured. So like, you're not really giving them immediate blessing. Maybe it's like a long term something that like will benefit, like I think it has with us.
But I've said multiple times, like, through the course of our marriage, in more recent times, in understanding this whole concept of like, I'm so glad that you did just keep pushing forward in this. And I was adamant about it for a time of like, no, if you are married, you ask permission to do something. Like, I always ask you if I'm going to go do something. So you ask me. Like, I was adamant about it for a while. And so it was one of those things that like, you were not backing down on. You were like, I do not feel like this is wrong, and I am not going to change my mind about it. And we're going to have to figure something out. Like, it's not like that big of a deal, but you just have to understand, like, I'm going to keep doing this. And like, it would just infuriate me talking about it with other people, because I'd be like, I don't understand this. Like, it's so simple to just be like, hey, can I go out for that beer? And
I didn't know. Like, I wish I wish I could say like I knew the whole time.
You didn't
like,
know.
Why, and the whole like, this is loving each other in freedom, and there's like a good reason for this. But for me, it came down to just the semantics of it for me. Like, my brain was just on that one note of like, it makes no sense for me to ask, because if it's a no, you can still say no even if I don't ask. But at that point, it needs to have like a reason. So the conversation doesn't go, hey, can I go do this? It goes, hey, I'm going to do this. And if it can't, your next words in my mind would have been like, well, we have this planned, so I don't think that's going to work or whatever. And I could say like, oh, totally forgot we had that planned.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, no, that should take precedent because I can go grab a beer anytime with them. Let's do that. You know, like, so the question never made sense to me. And like I said, I wish I could say that I had this whole concocted like psychology behind it, but it was strictly just like I'm not going to use my words for something that is pointless.
Right. Yeah. And it kind of like, ultimately, I just wanted this like false sense of power of like, you're going to ask me because then I think that I have the final say over it. When ultimately, if I ever told you no, you would be like,
yeah,
I'm doing
unless
it
there was
anyway.
a good reason, I would have been well, I'm still gonna go.
Right,
like,
but and that's the thing, like you said,
you told me to ask.
Right, and like you said,
vice versa.
It's like if you do call me and you're like, hey, I'm gonna go do this, I still have every freedom to be able to say like, oh, actually, we have plans tonight, remember?
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, no problem. And then you're canceling your plans. Like, that's all there is to it, you know? So, I mean, there is still, it's not like you're just living in this and you're like, I am doing this regardless because I want to do it.
Right.
And that's the end of it, you know? It's just that you're not asking for the permission. You're acknowledging that, like, each other as adults.
Right.
You're adults living together. You're adults in a marriage. And, like, how do we love each other best through that? I think it prevents resentment in each other. Because you are adults.
It feels weird to ask your peer, like, can I do something? It's like, I'm not your father. You're not my mother. Like, we can do this.
And for us, it was funny because, like, we had both come right out of our parents' house straight into marriage. So in that life of, like, I do have to ask for permission to do whatever I'm doing.
Right.
And then going into being in adulthood, having to do all the adulthood things, but still not getting the, like, quote, privileges of adulthood by just being able to
do whatever.
Yeah. I think that's
pretty good. Yeah. I think into it of freedom goes both ways, should be going both ways, and it's like the love that you can build for each other, especially while you're married, the different memories that are just yours, those are also special too, because like there's a lot of things that you've done that even if I was there might not have been able to happen due to just like who I am. And because of who you were with, or just because of the circumstances, you got to do something super fun that if I had complained, or if I went just to be a part of it too, like maybe we would have missed out on that. And then your memory, you don't have that anymore. So like, I think just like there's so much that can be gained in having your own memories still, even though you're married, and sharing them obviously. But I think that would be another topic. Because this is just like, go make your own memories. So like you still have your life to live. Like as sad as it is, as tragic as it is, they could die. And like, and then they're gone. And
like this is the only life that you get to live. You know?
It's the only life they get to live. So like encourage them to do their thing. And it's just, we get to live every single day, but we only get to do that once. So
we're going to do Out of the Mouth of Babes, where we're going to ask our girls their opinion on this topic.
We're going to go get them.
My name is Presley Ann, and my favorite color is pink and purple, and my favorite animal is giraffes. And I'm Carter Claire, and my favorite color is the rainbow.
Nice.
And my favorite animal is polar bears. And we're Nate and Robbie's childs.
You are.
And we have one more sister.
So, question. In a marriage, you have husband and wife, right? Let's say that the wife wants to go do something that does not include the husband. Should she do it if the husband's not going to join?
If it was a baby shower, then yeah, she should probably go.
Should still do it?
Yeah.
What do you think, Moose?
I think that if it's important, then she should still go.
Yeah.
If it's not like that important, like she's just going to the mall and hang out, then she should probably just stay.
Yeah, just stay.
Why do you think that, Moose?
Because a mall isn't really that important unless she's like getting like a present for a baby shower or something. Or a wedding dress.
The only time wives should leave is for baby showers.
Baby showers, that's it. What about the other way? What about for a husband? Is it the same thing?
I don't know. Yeah.
So only if it's an important thing, though.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's an important thing.
So like if the husband wants to just go get food by himself, and it's not as important as a baby shower, should you still do that?
Or like someone that he needs to help or go see. Yeah, it's like the same as the girl.
Same as the girl.
Mm-hmm.
So what about the times that like mommy has gone and hung out with my friend or daddy has gone and hung out with his friends? What do you girls think about that?
I think that's pretty rude.
You think it's rude?
I think it's rude.
Why do you think it's rude?
I don't know. Well, mommy is pretty important because mommy goes to help Chelsea with her wedding.
Yes.
And daddy, I don't know if he has any friends in Texas, but.
Should your sisters be able to go and do things without you?
No.
Sissy should have to stay around you all the time?
Yeah.
Presley Ann, should you be able to go do things without your sister?
Well, no. Sometimes I need my own space.
So why is it different for husband and wife?
Because you two, for example, never stop cuddling.
Carter, Claire, do you think you should be able to go do things without your sisters?
No, I would invite them.
What if you just really want to do something by yourself?
And they don't want to do it with you?
If I feel like I needed some alone time, I would say, "Can I just hang out with no one?"
So shouldn't that also work in marriage? 'Cause
Yeah.
we're friends, in marriage you're friends.
Yeah.
So we should be able to go do stuff for our own alone time, don't you think?
Yeah.
Well, we want to hear y'all's thoughts on this, and then also we want to start doing some emails. We want to do a segment of like Ask Nat and Ro.
Yeah. Tell us.
Or tell us.
Even tell us a story of like how this played out in your lives, or like
tell us how you disagree.
Yeah, that's it too. Like where we failed, or where we failed in explaining, if anything, and then maybe like the epiphany of when like you had thought about this prior to listening to us.
Tell us if this has helped you.
Yeah.
Send us a Instagram at Nat and Ro Show. Email the natandroshow@gmail.com. We want to hear from y'all. We're interested to hear opinions. That's what's going to keep the show fun and exciting, I feel like, is being able to weigh in and kind of hear from different people and asking us. Everything would be anonymous, obviously, but
unless you want to be known.
Yeah. We'll let you ride on our 30 followers of clout.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the Nat and Ro Show. Bye. Bye. Bye.